Hi everybody, Flash Plasma back again with another episode of Suzerain. So where did we last time? We had let's have a look. Arcasian Aid, high price steel, green good, amber, red bad. Military, commit shortages, do shortages. I thought that's what the expansion program. I thought that's what they were going to sort out with expanding the army. Recovered trade volume. Okay, right, okay. Right, so we've now got a military alliance with Agnolia, and we've got a trade deal with Agnolia, and we said no to Wazek because Moloch was a lunatic. Right. It'll be so comfortable. Right, sorry. Just to move my mic arm then, creaked a little bit. Right, this is a big one, people. Sorry, my mic arm's just really just like creaking like I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Right, sorry, I think I could probably make a little bit more noise with my boom off the mic if I tried. Right, here we go. Big one. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Sordland and delivered a speech recorded regarding the new constitution and ask for your support of the assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greetings to people on my way towards the parliamentary hall. When I entered the hall, the assembly was in complete chaos and shouting and cursing between the parties. There was heavy argument about a proposal from an MP from the NFP. I took my seat inside the special reserve for Ministers. Gloria was shouting from my seat to the centre of the hall as she hit the gavel 3 times, striking it heavier. Each strike heavier than the one before. Order! Order! That's sort of like the Houses of Parliament when, like, when before coronavirus kind of shut it all down. The old days when you had a full Houses of Parliament in the UK, proper debate going. It doesn't. How can these people in the country? It's like you think it's more for show, but it's great when it was a full debate. You got the speaker going, order, order. Anyway, I digress again. I saw Kesaro Kibana standing up from his seat and shouting towards the members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibana, calm yourself, show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the arguments continued for a couple of minutes before everyone took their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibana, the next time I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall so we can proceed with the procedures of the assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP shouted back at her in protest. Honourable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue, she pointed at me. We have the President here with us today. He has asked to give an important announcement. Assembly fell silent. Do you have the floor, Mr. President? Well, I'm not sure. This is the actual vote on it. Oh, hang on. I walked to the stand as a loud clapping started from the SP side. Honourable members of the Assembly. Honourable members of the Assembly of Sordland, I am here today to raise important questions regarding our outdated constitution. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. Our elected has always been overshadowed by executive and designated judiciary branches in Sordland. The Grand National Assembly must be able to exercise its job properly without obstruction. However, our constitution fails to guarantee this. I continued. I therefore we propose changes to a personal for more democratic era. Let's go with this one. Therefore, we propose change to the constitution to prepare Sordland for a more democratic era. Applause from the USP and the PFJP seats. We will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. That's just too kind of inflammatory, so I'm going to avoid that. We will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. I focused on unity, peace, change. Unity, peace. The democracy was a product of a time of war. Now it is a time for peace, as we must make peace between each other and we must strive for peace in the world, with a more democratic constitution that would reflect the will of the people and flourish in the upcoming times of peace and prosper. I'm not even going there. We make Sordland great again. We will make Sordland great again. Let's go with that one. Loud noises from ESP and NFP seats. Okay. I took a breath and continued. I wasn't expecting that, but ladies and gentlemen, somebody must set aside their differences. Let's stand to make a new constitution together. Be a part of new official journals. Join us and vote for the proposal. Be a part of a new official and join us and vote for our proposal. I will address the problems of the past in my proposal. Let's rewrite the future together. Let's stick on the future. So I think if we start talking about the past, it makes us solace where we're going to go after him. Obviously, I'd like to go after him, but we're realism, aren't we? Salute the crowd. For a democratic Sordland. Assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. The whole USP party stood up. The whole of the United Sordland Party stood up and started applauding. Thank you for your speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs started to speak. Franz Richter was among them. Yes, Mr. Richter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I thank Mr. President for his speech, we, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stands in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I'd like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the United Sordland Party for their more than open attitude compared to past years. As long as Mr. President's words prove not just words, we will behind this as much needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share his final contents of the proposal as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So suddenly Kisara Kibana started yelling from his seat. I don't read these things enough because, again, I've said this in every playthrough. There's an amount of work that's gone into this. It's just I'd love to see like a history of Sordland, a history of the area. All this content put into a book, like a history book of you get these, what do you call them? Kind of what if histories, alternate histories. I'd love to somebody put together a history of Sordland as a kind of as a DLC as part of the game. That'd be great because they've put so much work into it anyway. Kisara Kibana is a Sordland politician and leader of the National Front Party. He has been a member of the Assembly since 1937. He represents the far right of Sordland politics. Despite his views, he is respected by nationalists on both sides of the political spectrum. Military school propagandist artist joined the army in 1925. Although not verified by the state or himself, he was rumoured to be a private who announced General Darien's 27 coup against the government of President Arthur, risking a radio broadcast. In 1930, he formed the National Front Party, together a group of nationalists from Gen. During the 1930s, he took a stance against immigration during the Welsh Civil War and was blamed for a significant support of the populace for inciting violence in the city streets against Agno, Swordish and Bloodish people. Basically, he's an unpleasant gentleman, basically, is what this subcontext of that. He's not a very nice person. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and the PFGP are nothing but puppets of the Western interests. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermines the integrity of SOAR. Order, Mr. Kibana. How many times do I need to say? You are speaking out of... I demand to speak. Gloria gave him a stare. She looked in order. Well, Mr. Kibana, go ahead. Mr. President, he looked directly at me. The National Movement does not agree with your priorities nor the way you are trying to implement them. The National Party will not stand with you on your new constitution. Let it be known that NFP concerns are not included in this so-called democratic reforms. Thus, Mr. President, you have no right to claim them as such. We'll stand our ground against any attempt to bring down established political culture and national values. Thank you. Kisara went back to his seat while the chaos in the assembly continued. Leave the assembly. Let's get out of there. Got from his seat to walk towards the exit. Keeps shouting, responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. Exactly that kind of moment. There's no point trying to speak. Order, order. This topic has finished. We're moving on to our next topic. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corridor in the National Assembly. Exactly. Let's leave them to it. Let them argue. Oh, we've got to continue. So let's have a quick skip about what we've got anything to look at. Quick look at the news and we can continue. Rayne, our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. Okay. I can always skim read these because it's kind of, maybe I should read again. If you want me to actually spend the time to read these and read them out loud, let me know. But I just kind of a gloss over them. Is there anything interesting in them? It's just regurgitating what I've already said. Walker warns Vags and Navy of Heligerland dispute. The tension between Magnolia and Vagsland keeps climbing. The latest addition to escalation happened yesterday in the Vagslavian Channel, where the Vagsland ships started advancing on the perimeter around the island. According to Aglan sources, yesterday morning, Agnolian battleship Van Gilben had intercepted the Vagslandian destroyer, the Stanisen, and warned them to move out Agnolian waters. The Vagland captain did not respond to communication with the ship backed away from the scene after several hours of a standstill. Seeing the event as Vagsland putting pressure over the island, Acadian President Dwight Walker warned the Vagslandian Navy, we will not tolerate any attempts to trigger an incident in international waters, and I call Mr. Hegel to pull your ships back immediately. Ooh. Good if we could pull Arcadia into the trouble without us having to go into a treaty, that'd be excellent. Full status. So far they've been able to get 146 signatures, efforts on to increase the support, reach out and necessary members to 150. Hopefully we'll be able to do it. Hopefully. Continue. Wealth of Nations. Wait for it to load. Right. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting my mic with my finger. Let's have a look up here. Nearest democratic Magnolia, second time, right. He's won his election. Fine, so nothing changes there. Let's look at. Yep, that's a news article. Let's read this first. Health requires more resources. Small scale implementation. The one it proposes would deliver efficient results. Radical. Hidden power men in uniform. Okay, that's to send the military a threat, but we know they are. That's getting worse, and that's not getting. Okay. Ministry has finalised a privatisation proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system to increase the quality of services through small-scale market competition. Additionally, Ministry's report highlighted weaknesses Sordland has when it comes to potential epidemic. Mr. Bannerall reported much more could be achieved through healthcare system if private sector could be slightly assisted by generating new revenue streams and adding new services. Okay. What else we got? The Minister says the also versus Sordland case put forward its concurrence opinion before sending dispute to the Supreme Court. The Vice Minister of Justice came forward agreeing the case of Ishvel S. Ersven and pointed out a majority court dissent would do a disservice to a legal precedent of future constitutional rights cases. Yeah, this is one that pops up all the time, but it never it never lets you get involved in it. It always pops up, but it kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of there must be a reason for this coming up, because it comes up and it goes and it plays through to the end of the case, but you never actually get involved in it. So there must be some. I wonder if this is giving us a tip to get involved somewhere, but I don't know where. Anyway. General Staff are convened at military defence today to assess the security conditions of Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking official officers are in attendance and discussing several war plans in the internal stability of the nation and the overall state of the armed forces. Arrived at the cubic buildings that house most of the military command that raised and wholesome, the grey, brutalist structure looked daunting. I never liked this building, always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant ready to crush me. Made me feel small, and I never quite used to it. Got quite used to this feeling even after all these years, after many years. At the entrance I was greeted by Isef, Yosef and his military entourage of young officers. Welcome to the military defence, Mr. President, let's go to my office. Walked from corridor to corridor to reach the office. On the way we were met with high-ranking official officers as well as privates. Every time one of these soldiers saw me, they stopped and saluted. When we arrived at Isef's office, I saluted and left. He closed the door and took a seat. This must be something serious, especially since you invited me here. It's important we don't get misinformed on this matter. Volker has another agenda. He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation in Wumberg is getting worse, and if it wasn't for investment in the military, I would be even more concerned. We're prepared, aren't we, Yosef? Your tone doesn't spark confidence. We're prepared for the worst, aren't we? Truth will truthfully not fully prepared. We are still going through a few changes in the military to be able to confront them if such a day was to arrive. Since we refrain from modernising our military, the traditional force structure would have to match the enemy's numbers. Rumor has superior numbers which we can't ever hope to match. The terrain is in our favour, but once we come hundreds of thousands of mountains, hundreds of thousands in the mountains, logistics will collapse. It will be a bloodbath for both sides. Is it what Vulcan, the supporter of quality approach? Yes, with no disrespect to him, but he thinks we can outgun the enemy, but when I'm fighting a large force, and outsmarting is what matters. The recent military partnership we signed with Agnolia includes a mutual defence clause. In case of conflict, we will be obliged to come to each other's aid. In case of Rumbling invasion, they will come for help. Do you think it's a disgrace we have to rely on other nations for our defence? These are challenging times. Rumbling is a vulture circling around the region. Mr. President, we need stronger allies. Sure, Agnolia is better than nothing, but we must look further to Lesbia or Vagsland as options, in my opinion. Ooh, now this is a massive change from the first run through. The first run through, he was massively opposed to. Joining ATO or joining ATO and getting involved with that kind of setup. And actually, to the point, he actually opposed him in a military queue. I wonder if it's because we didn't go with his options. But that's a massive shift. A shift I'm happy with. Do you think that would be necessary? Advance note to our. Yeah, I'll bring it up to David. Advance noted. Good, because that's what I wanted to do, to be honest with you. Any deterrence should force them to think twice. As I've cleared his throat. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription has become a matter of discussion, and we need to strike a decision to keep it or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a larger front line, but these truths lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. The argument would be to remove conscription if our military can stand on its own 2 feet without them. If we're going to have strong allies, why we need conscripts? Knock on the door was heard, and Chief of Armed Forces Vulcan Kruger walked in quickly with a frown. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What is going on here? You are overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the President. Vulcan deliberated the situation. I can see what's going on here. I mean no respect, but I am leading the ground operations and I must be informed of any strategic changes. Vulcan has a point. The military needs to be on the same page on any changes. Well, now you are here. What is your opinion on conscription? Vulcan has a point. Thank you, Mr. President. Why are we talking about national defence, which must be consulted amongst all staff? To clarify, we would have brought the subject up with the General Staff and you. The matter is rather simple from my point of view. We keep our traditional army doctrine. It is not devoid of disadvantages. However, at the end of the day, Rumberg has a larger army, Air Force and Navy. Our conscripts will fill much weaknesses we have. We don't share the same opinion. The modern age requires a modern army. Third bodies that problem never solved it. Not sure this is the right approach. Yeah. Well, we can't have less troops on the front line than the enemy. Not with our current structure focused on mass mobilisation. He's got a point. Consider. Yeah, remove mandatory. We need. Yeah, let's remove it. Alright, we can move on then. We also have to decide exactly how we spend our additional remaining funds in the military. In June we decided to expand the military. Military thanks the administration for extensive support. We decided which branch we want to expand. The army could enlarge and match the force size of most of the neighbours. The most. Generally speaking, the army would be the safest choice. However, the Air Force and Navy could well do with expansion too. What branch should we expand? God, give me some help here. Yeah, let's go with the army. As you wish, to change, we'll implement this and finish by the end of November. Thank you for your listening. Thank you for your time. I left the Ministry of Defence and returned to the Marine Palace. I would like to put more up on that. It would be nice for them to advise me what they wanted to do. Boys to men, not with that conscription. Okay, fine, they don't like that. Okay, equal rights march, nothing to see there. Codex has changed, codex, military. A large expansion plan has been nearly double the size of the army size, now capable of overwhelming most neighbours. Good, excellent. Country overview, let me go to country overview again. So, political overview, country overview. War, diplomacy. Doesn't give us population size. Welfare. Expanded army. Doubled its army, so now capable of overwhelming most neighbours. Good. Now got a stonkingly large army. Marvellous. Get the women's rights march. Okay. Okay, so it's finished moving its planes to the Air Force Base. As per terms of the new agreement, the case of military is allowed to refuel, repair, access to fuel-based change provided for logistical equipment support Sordland. Good. That's the first step to us getting to bed with ATO. Because whether now that our man Youssef he said he wants that, do it. The team gathered in Holsford at the Ministry of Education to conduct economy overview meeting to go over the current situation. So I'm just closing my blind because the sun comes directly through my office window into and it's baking. The building was constructed in 1992 by Hohenwald, one of the, if not the most famous architecture in Sordland. The building looks simple and elegant with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. Walking through the large bundles at the entrance, I was led by two assistants upstairs into a meeting room. Everyone stood up as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets. Welcome, Mr. President. Let's begin. Let's crack on. Everyone took their seats. As you all know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without much further ado. The aid we received from our case has helped tremendously. Personally, I think it's a great decision, Mr. President. We will use the majority of the capital to combat the recession. I would expect nothing less from our Marquesian friends. Well said. How are we doing in terms of infrastructure? The first months had positive indicators, but the delay of the infrastructure project reversed economic gains. Mikhail finally put his finger on his chin. Why couldn't we solve the H1 high-speed rail connection issues? They're not happy. Fine. Yeah. So it's best performance from all of us. Our first investment nearly meant to be good. Our first event was meant to be a good first step in overall plan. If the budget allows it, the budget and agreed. Any reliance on credit could endanger our future. David, do you have any stats on our deal with Magnolia? Our trade with Magnolia has increased imports and exports by 25% in 1 month, which is much more expected in the future. I'm working high price, but the high price of Magnolia still doesn't result in trade surplus. That doesn't seem like a positive indicator. We should look for more trade partners. I agree, not just region, we should target more deals internationally. We should see our improved relations with Magnolia as a stepping stone to expanding positive influence. I support foreign initiatives with partners as democratic as Magnolia. Organise ourselves in more democratic countries is good for Sordland. This is good for the overall trade with other countries as well. Democratic countries generate more trust in general. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to pessimistic mood caused by issues with our economy. Yeah, that is discouraging. We've done the best we could. This is discouraging. We did the best we could so far. We should maintain our optimism. While I agree the first attempts were not successful, we still might have economic opportunities left. It isn't good for our reputation, as people expect quick solutions by running out of time. Simon checked our dossier. Some good news, we currently have a budget surplus. That means we can pursue many investments which could drive our economy upwards. I'll present you the draft documents economic expansion soon. Excellent news. I agree with extra money there is much we can do. As per the latest data, unfortunately, recession does seem to be lingering. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates. Otherwise, I'm sad to say, we will be doomed. We need to use the opportunity session. Trade deals and infrastructure investments always help. Mr. President, I'll be very clear. Sam took off his glasses and put them on the table and looked me straight in the eye. You already know this, but I don't want to frighten you, but if we are unable to stop this recession, we are heading towards an economic catastrophe that has never been seen before in Sordland. No, in all of Eastern Macopia. I can't even begin to imagine how we could survive that. None of us wants to see all these people starve while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. Then we need to get to work. Exactly. Don't put on his glasses now. There are a few methods to tackle this recession. Our surplus is a great reason to spend extra on a new investment project, push further economic development in the future. I've heard a few project proposals. There are two main distinctions between these projects. It's either continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increasing production. If we continue on our infrastructure, that would lift us up to advanced country levels. However, our industrial production suffered and also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. This is, of course, the option is not to take any risk related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finished soon, so for now I can provide preliminary information. Let's go with infrastructure. For infrastructure, I have two projects. One is the Benfield International Airport, the other is the Morna Port. Benfield is growing at a rapid pace and will benefit highly from an international airport. Much more money to be made there too. Morna Port will boost trade and improve flow of goods towards Hull, particularly because Conrad Port is too small in capacity and is blocked by and the extension is blocked by the naval headquarters. Economic growth in Benfield could be propelled. It still has yet to reach its full potential. Benfield is rapidly developing. There's much gain from increasing connectivity to the world. Imagine all the tourists that would arise. We will focus on improving well-being of our citizens while Morna is no poor city as well deserves investment. What are the projects that could boost our production? For production, we have two projects. One is the Sana Agricultural Zone and the other is the Conrad Industrial City. I see Sana Agricultural Zone investment as a higher priority due to the fact that farmers in Berger was hit by the recession. Sana is also a poor city than Conrad. The Conrad Industrial City project has potential to increase manufacturing in Greater Salford by a large amount. Sana is a much poor city indeed. It deserves investment you can get from the government. The recession hit farmers in Sana particularly hard because the agricultural output increase would boost our economy. The investment will be able to recover the industry there. Conrad, on the other hand, would bring in more financial gain. Our government has the opportunity to support agriculture and should take it. It would increase our exports too. Information, very, very well. Today, have I? To do. Okay, yeah, okay, that's all I need today. I won't bother anything else because I'm eating. Goodbye, until next time, see you. Meeting ended. Right, so let's have a look. So, Morna. Police violence, as we put forward assessments regarding performance of local security firms made to public order. Okay, so it's as if I missed anywhere up here to be looked at. L1 consumption date. It's been delayed for a year. The manager apologized for the state blame and strikes for the delay. That's been a complete disaster. That's still not happening. Polio case discovered. Yeah, so we've got polio in rural there basically. Up here, Welland is going. He's warned about increasing naval presence of Vagland and the Mercury Sea, showed wishes to have strong naval cooperation with Sordland in the future. Okay. Lots of news articles. Housewives march to defence audience tradition and Reacher. So that's basically. Okay, so basically that's a battle between traditionalists and happy housewives, and people want women's equality, basically. Again, they failed to deliver. Noble anti-vein protests. Police violence escalates. failed. Okay. Yeah, that was a mistake on my part. I get annoyed actually because that happened last time as well. It's almost like if you're replaying the game, it takes a surprise out, because I picked them the first time and it failed. It just didn't deliver, and the exact same reason. Needed more money. Didn't give it to him there before it delayed. Didn't really give him it delayed anyway. And it's almost like, well, kind of, you almost want the game to kind of mix it up a little bit, and for them to actually work. I mean, they might work. If any of you guys have used Torpor Holding in your ones and they've worked, let me know. But when I've tried it, both times I've tried it, both times they've failed. It takes a bit of the surprise out of it a little bit, because if I do a fourth one through, I ain't going anywhere near them, because I know it will work. I know it won't work. So it's a bit disappointing a little bit. Opposition bear traps begun. Yeah, it's kind of it's a little bit disappointing, because I was kind of hoping it would be something different. Education, as reported, prioritisation effort education is going well, and now on track to meet targets. Capital received from privatised schools and competing private investors already showing results in form of new schools, improved quality of education in most major cities. Good news. Investment mega projects. So, has put forward 4 bold plans for investment projects aiming to solve the different issues ranging from production to infrastructure. The 4 available investments are Benfey, Morna, Conrail or Sana. Ooh. I'm stuck between Sana, Benfey and Sana. I'm going to go with Sana just because it's poor. We're down to 0 budget again. Okay. And the economy's tanked even more. Like for time. Okay, let's go. Let's have a look at you for Narble. Protests in Narble. Peaceful protests, which is good to see. Let's go over here and have a look at this. Budget allocation to healthcare. Have an afternoon tea in my office, gone through newspapers. One of the headlines piqued my interest. Polio cases in Welland. Before I started reading, I had a couple of knocks. Pascal entered, following by Lucian. Mr. President, it's time for a scheduled healthcare meeting. Good afternoon. Let's begin. By taking the seats, Pascal introduced documents from his suitcase, put them on the table. Pascal looked at the newspaper I was reading. Very troubling news for everyone, Mr. President. I've just seen return from a meeting with our top scientists on the matter of polio. It seems to be spreading. What we're doing to prepare. We've been to all our healthcare staff, especially ones classed to all on board. Unfortunately, there are more rural areas who lack the equipment and staff. What I was told by researchers was that with the current infection rate, we'll see millions of people affected by polio. We need to be ready for any possibility. I doubt it's serious yet. Regardless, back on topic. Pascal was reading last I went through the documents. He didn't say anything for a whole minute. Mr. Beniwal. Yes, of course, let's start. He put his papers down, cleared his throat and looked at me. In general, the Ministry is somewhat content with the budget decision that was made. At least it didn't get cut. But I'm still happy the administration continues to support healthcare at the same levels before, even though the limits our options significantly. I'm sure you can prove what we have. I want to lead. We will have to make do with what we have. I want you to lead the way in solutions in healthcare. Well, I don't see many ways out of the situation. We need funds to bring improvements. As you know, I've been spurring a new privatisation programme that will create funds through selling unused ministry property to get some extra taxes. It might not go against our strategy to promote market economy, but I'm personally against privatisation of government services, such as vital services need to be state control. I do, but we need the money. So Lucian, they might have to overrule you. Aside from creating additional funds, there's a long-term problem of privatisation of country like Sordland. You are right. These are less structural issues, especially there might be structural issues, especially to private greed and market manipulation. What are those problems? People already lacking proper healthcare, even though it's free. What happens when you privatise? Prices increase as state hospitals close due to sales. We will prevent the worst case scenarios. There needs to be healthy structural improvements in the sector. It's not a case in all Lesbian. You're talking about Sordland, which healthcare is free for now. There are people that are largely dependent on service that's free to them. Messing with that structure will definitely hurt us politically in the future. That's I know for sure. Choice is yours, Mr. President. we'll promote privatisation, allow private. Yeah, I'll keep it, because I did tell Glory Toy I wouldn't do that either. See which else will remain public hands. Good choice. That is all then. Very well. Fruitful meeting, nice and short. Dismissed. Okay, and I've left. Okay. That was easier than I planned, easier than I thought. Radical. Here we go. Troubling and justified case of Ishaval Urson is making its way from the lower courts to the Ministry of Justice and by order to the Supreme Court thereafter. The symptomatic racism felt around the country seems to have no limits, especially when it comes to the largest minority of our nation. The truth is that the situation is very big and bulge people that demand their long-awaited rights. The Constitution protects individual rights on paper, but they seem to uphold and enforce or pay little attention to legalities. It gets even worse when justified legal cases like this are made and appealed to the Supreme Court. The general outcome is always depressingly unjust. Nobody expects otherwise in this case. Sorry, I couldn't get it with my microphone. It doesn't tell us what it's about, though. It comes every time we never know what it's about. Thousands of protests. Experts increasing. Okay, so yeah, let's get on. Why did everyone hold on to his island so much? A landmark court file has been appealed to the Court of Appeals today under the view of Minister of Justice lawyer and blush activist Ishaval Urson sued the Dyer municipality led by Felix Bond for infringement of the constitutional right of rights of equality before the law. The case questions the separate legal treatment of Bloodish and Dyer and by extension of the Bergia. Okay. Again, it just doesn't. I'm not sure how it feels. I'm not sure how to kind of like interact with it, if you can even interact with it. Talks with friends Victor on upcoming vote. Okay. The President's new constitution will nearly complete soon. We were going to propose it to the Grand National Assembly, a huge step in our administration. We desperately need more support. That's why I've invited friends Victor for a chat about the upcoming vote. He and his party held the key to our success. We met in the presidential office at the end of the day. He arrived in his signature navy blue suit, handed me a box of famous Arcasian chocolates to settle down on the couch. You're a fan of Arcasia, aren't you? A fan of chocolates, yes. He pointed at the box. You don't like them? That's not what I meant. Thanks for the gift. It's nothing, Mr. Rayne. He took a photo of his face glass and flipped it open. I could see the scribbles he made on the margins of my draft proposal. I have to say, I'm surprised by this proposal you've prepared for the Constitution. I really don't understand your reasoning behind some of the changes. What parts don't you understand? I don't know where to begin. You're ignoring a demands for lower democratic threshold. How are you calling this a democratic package? Be a realist. This proposal is the best we can do. A realist. I expect. Is that your excuse, Mr. President? So this proposal is realistic, but what we demand is not. What we're saying is, are you saying this while you're begging me for my party's support? I can't deny that we are desperate for your support. It's a small, be it small or great, it's a step forward. It's a step forward. I still believe we can accomplish meaningful change together. Yeah, being it small or great, a still step. Well, that's true. They shouldn't stop anyone from trying their best. That being said, I may be willing to support this proposal, even though I don't find it sufficient. However, I'm not sure what to make of it. You're going to miss our chance for reform just because you don't get everything you want. All I need you to do is say yes. That would be useful. That would be very useful, wouldn't it? Yeah. You put the reformists in a tough spot like this, Mr. Rayne. I'm sure it was tough to persuade your party to support this proposal, but this is what happens when you expect the USB to bring change. Don't expect me to sympathise with you. Not only have you minimised the potential of the reforms, you've taken the spot away from the PFJP members who campaigned this reform for years. You better have something else to offer. Yeah, I have nothing to offer but democracy. Ooh, this is a tricky one. I'm sure you have something in mind. I think Sordland democracy more than anything, so I will also have to look out for myself and my party. Sorely you understand. Wait, and if you're talking democracy, I first need to trust your agenda. I currently do not. First of all, you sound effectively removed all parties from the funding. You hijacked the elections from the very start. How can I trust you now? It's passed by somebody with silent to law. The past is past, let's fix the future. That's not so simple and strange. You came here with a proposal that ignored our demands. On top of it, you even acknowledged you not even acknowledged your own mistakes. I think it's too late to fix anything now. I can't say any deals being made. It's a shame. We won't be working between us. Nothing I check with millions can't handle a bribe. Now you've got my attention. After some back and forth with Grid, someone decided to transfer. Sam shook my hand. I'm glad we are ready to put a cop at, Mr. President. I will do my best to gather the support of my party. I'm happy to have gotten to know the real you, friends. Was there anything else? Ooh. Do we want to go? Nope, let's just leave it. Look forward to your cooperation. We shook hands. It's nice to have a president we can finally have a dialogue with. He laughed. I'll see you in history books. Have a nice evening for now. He left the room. Okay, so I bribed him. Excellent. That works for me. Rayne meets Richter. Okay, time for our party to together to make change for the future. Blah 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 blah. That's a complete show. Issue handling Sordland to President Rayne on silver platter. Then some of them aren't happy. Yeah, hopefully we'll get us through. Hopefully. Okay. Yes, this Bright conference announced that you will begin with full support to constitutional changes. Members is Bright to follow him in his endeavour to assess our differences regarding the great good of the country. I'm not going for them. We'll go Underhull. See, we're now negative again. And that's still taking an age. Update on the situation of education, University of Vagland. After a meeting with the rector and a brief tour of University of Valgan, we gathered in a meeting with Gara. The entire campus was visible from the window. Students were reading books, studying and having picnics under the trees. It reminded me of my own times in Lack Evan Business School, at least the more carefree moments. Reminiscing about the past? Yes, it has ups and downs, but it was still fun. We're now growing a bit old and bitter. She smiled. Let's not get sidetracked. I want to start off by saying this. Stagnation doesn't get anyone anywhere. Simply maintaining my ministry's funds got us sitting ducks with dozens of issues left unsolvable. The state of having had to rely on privatisation funds is a disgrace for letting private interests meddle in the most essential services of learning. New private schools are increasing the disparity of the services in education. Low-income households who can't afford a private school in their district and might need help to send their schools to a public school. Help send their schools to a public. Actually, that's a type. Actually, help send their children to public schools far away. Although I insist that funds are still necessary to close the gaps in service, I can't say we have been entirely off track. I want to thank you for leading our education system in the right direction. Traditional teachings are long prevented progress. You played a huge part in this too, Clara. She nodded and brought up a stack of papers from her bag. Spinning a ballpoint pen, she went through the papers, organising them together. Our minister has prepared the necessary framework regarding how to spend the funds we've going through school privatisation. I have outlined three potential options. We can build new rural schools, improve the standards of existing ones, or increase salaries for all our education workers. We have the capacity to implement only one of these options: rural schools. The issue is very critical. They are losing too many people to ignorance and illiteracy. Sordland's rural population is full of untapped potential. With enough education, these people could assist our workforce and society. Look how United Catalan is pushing past Arcadia in educational research because most of the rural population has access to schools. Why should we focus on the increase of salaries of education workers? The job itself will be held in high regard and compensated accordingly. Our people have chosen to dedicate themselves to the betterment of all this, helping raise the next generation. We ought to give them what they deserve. What's improving entail? Where to start? At the very least, we need new equipment and materials. Many of these schools are facing shortage of desks, textbooks. The ones who haven't been updated since before the Sordland administration. If teachers lack the resource to give Sordland youth a proper education, it's as bad as it if they don't go. It can be as bad as if they don't go to school at all. To decide, it's between these two. I see, again, that's kind of, why can't you do that in one go? Because if you're building schools, again, for me, you should be able to tackle both at the same. One of the three should be tackled both at the same time. Like new schools. First, got to find a say of the people. I'll pass it to the ministry. I'll pass it down to ministry. That's all there is for now. I've talked to Miss Soon to schedule some time to discuss the curriculum. She's a very astute woman, your secretary. You may want to consider promoting her. Ooh, we'll meet again very soon. See you at our next meeting. Okay, I'll put our papers back in the bag and left of the meeting room. Mega project, agricultural zone. That's just one of a mega project. Refugees fleeing to Swedish border. So we've got lots of refugees coming through. Yes, we've got a big refugee crisis on our border. Okay. So next conversation. Let's do this one. Quicker. Cara schedule a short meeting at the Ministry of Education to discuss the current curriculum taught in schools. The Ministry building was located in the government district right next to the Ministry of Health. It was tall, narrow and wedge-shaped, like a slightly open book. Near the front gate there were many students of many statues of world-renowned scientists and thinkers. Largest, of course, was Art van Istvan, the greatest scientist of all time. For the main entrance was a familiar description of interesting, that one. I'm not going to try it, I'll butcher that in another episode. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families. Inside the building I was greeted by Cara's assistant and led me to a meeting room where she was waiting inside. She stood up and gripped my hand. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Let's start. I will cut straight to the chase. The lack of government resources has altered our plans for education reform, but there's one important change that can still be made. It involves evolution versus creationism. As it currently stands, schools across Sordland can decide whether to include evolution, creationism, or both in their curriculum. Rural schools often decide in favour of creationism only, which puts students at disadvantage when it comes to entering university. The effect is especially noticeable amongst young women. My suggestion is to make teaching evolution mandatory, preferably ban creationism altogether. I don't agree with teaching children supernatural nonsense like creationism. That's great. It sounds like we've already signed a line on the matter. Entered. Excuse me, some urgent business get me away. Welcome, Mr. Gallard, Mr. President, Mr. Wilder. Why were you late? The general staff have some concerns regarding Wimbledon board. I already provided you with a report, nothing else. Curriculum. Here's my selection on points. Very well, let's hear them. Continue my previous point. It's my conviction we should require mandatory teaching of evolution in Sordland's public schools and cut creationism out completely out. If we want our children from rural areas to have the same opportunities as urban counterparts, this is the way. Opening students' minds and reducing the role of the vigilant in schools will also lead to more equality between young men and women. Don't bring your pet cause into this, Mr. Wilder. You failed your reforms and now you want to remove the belief from schools. Ooh. Calm down, Lucian. Advances in women's rights is more than just a pet cause. Both of you gentlemen must know that. Also, when did we fail reforms? We all know why education reforms failed, don't we? Oh well, okay, don't we? Did they fail? Didn't make the cut. Your education budget didn't make the cut. Nothing could be done about it. Action and consequence. I told you before. Correctly topic. Though I suppose I didn't give them the budget. Okay. Although I believe myself, even evolution, we must be careful not to alienate our rural conservative voter base. We are not to their support, forcing schools districts to heat evolution and repair damage standing with them. Every modern nation has reduced or removed creationism in their curriculum, yet supposed to allow schools to promote fundamental and yes sexist ideas from 1,000 years back. So this is what we're doing now, copying ideas from other nations, but in our own way. If it works, why not? Look at the analysis. It is clear the superpowers are already doing something right. Should we reinvent the wheel, Mr. Garland? You speak as if we don't import any influences from other countries. That's not what I said. Their voices had to get louder and louder. I held my hand up for silence. We can still allow the creationists to be taught alongside the evolution. How could you live with that? Yes, although I don't like it, I still believe schools have no place for religion. I won't like it either. We'll have to prepare to lose a lot of voters. It's your decision. Don't forget the future of what soldiers use to counted on you. I will make teaching evolution mandatory, but schools may promote creation alongside it if they wish. Yes, take the middle ground. Annoy everybody. Unfortunate, but it will have a better outcome than banning creationism altogether. I disagree. Right, rejected creationism when I've signalled that we are directed Sordland towards a scientifically and technologically advanced future. They turned and looked at each other. Leeson lifted his eyebrow and Kel and Kara held his gaze for a couple of seconds. The meeting ended shortly afterwards. Okay, let's have a... Okay, let's have a look. Lobby assembly. Administration can start lobbying efforts to sway voters. Okay, I think that we're going to leave that just there because that looks like another big meeting. So, once again, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had experience with the Taurus holding, because that's the second time I've used them. The second time it's gone wrong, which it disappoints me a little bit. It disappoints me about a little bit about the game, really. The fact that unless there's something I've done wrong, because I was about to say it disappoints me that it's kind of this mechanism in the game always happens. Therefore, if I really play again, I'm not going to go near them. But let me know if anyone else has used Taurus holding and it has worked. So I've been intrigued to know, because at the moment I'm a little bit disappointed the fact that if I do a fourth playthrough, I'm not going to go near them, like I said, because I know it won't work. I know it'll end up costing me, a great deal. So I'm disappointed in it. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how you're getting on, and I shall see you in the next one. Alright, thanks, bye.